Well, One Time has continued to struggle financially, reporting a half-year headline loss of 35.4 million rand that both of its subsidiaries have applied for and been granted a business rescue protection. Joining me now to unpack the numbers and look at the outlook for the company going forward, Group CEO Blacky Komani and Wayne McCurry from Momentum Investments. Thank you so much for joining us today. Mr. Komani, business rescue protection is of course what you needed to get through this period. Just give us an idea of how that is going, what the process entails right now.
The process where we are now, we've put together a business plan rescue, a business rescue plan which goes to creditors for them to vote. For that, we need 75% of the creditors. However, as we go through this, we find that there are other inputs that we're getting from interested parties to improve the future of the company.
So when you talk about 75% of the creditors to vote, that's on agreeing to let go of the debt you owe them, or explain exactly what that means.
That means that you need 75% of the value of the debt voting in favor of the business rescue plan, which ensures that the company stabilizes, and part of that is that the company will be monitored over a period of time to make sure that we return to stability and profitability.
So, just looking at the numbers right now, you broke it down in terms of your key drivers of operating costs. Fuel, airport charges and ground handling make up 80% of your operating costs, and those costs over the period were up by 35% or 30% year on year. Overall costs up 25%, and then of course revenue not keeping in line with that. So when it comes to the cost picture right now, what are you doing to manage these costs, and how much of it can you control?
I think if you look at the losses, put them in context, last year we lost about 34 million rand as a same period last year. And what we have done this year, we've optimized our schedule. We've exited routes that are not profitable, and 70% of those losses are based on Lanseria as well as Mombasa. And we have suspended those operations in May this year. So, if you compare likes with likes, the half-year results this year will have looked better. But of course, we paid our school fees in those two routes. Yeah. But what we do on a daily basis is just to examine routes that are not profitable.
And, just looking at the numbers, you have really started cutting down on those routes. And as you say, it might make a difference going forward. Yeah.
Yeah, it's making difference. I mean, if you look at the last 3 months, which is really starting to see the effect of those, the exiting of those routes, we're starting to see a significant difference in our operating costs.
Now, Blacky, I can't even remember how many airlines have started and have gone under in South Africa. The list is, I haven't got enough fingers to count them all. And I hear there's another one starting up quite soon as well. Sure. Low-cost airlines is an intensely competitive business. Now, 2 questions. Do you think the playing fields will be a bit more level as regards SAA and Mango? Because clearly there's subsidization happening there because the taxpayers have to chip in a couple of billion every few years or so. Do you think that will change? But maybe more importantly, how can you differentiate yourself as a low-cost airliner and actually make money and be successful?
Let me start with the first question. I think with the new leadership at SAA, there's a recognition that the playing field has to be leveled. You see here statements by the executive chairman or acting executive chairman saying that the industry needs to be leveled, to the extent that I know that he's looking to set up a meeting with the industry to say, what is that mandate, that role that SA has to play? Because what's happening now, if you look at Africa, the foreign carriers are taking over Africa, being KLM, Emirates, and you see Kenya and Ethiopian Airlines taking over in Africa. My view is that that's where SA should be playing. Then you leave the space for the local carriers, that will include low-cost carriers. Insofar as the relationship between Mango and SAA, that has always been my question, that I'm not comfortable with that relationship, because between ourselves at Kulula, I think there's sufficient players to make sure that we service low-cost carrier. But maybe the second part of your question, there is a role to play within the African space. If you look at the cost per seat in Africa, we're four times that of Europe. So, when you have that vast territories and no road infrastructure, Where the growth is in north of our borders, and grow that substantially. I think there is a room for a low-cost carrier in Africa.
But of course, that is just something that you couldn't, I assume, be focusing on right now. The primary focus for you is to get the company in order, make sure that it doesn't go under. What is company morale like right now? Do you think that you will be able to come out of this period? And talk to us about the excess capacity that you also talk about that still needs to wind out of the whole industry.
The company morale, probably one of the few CEOs are fortunate to say this about his staff, that I have an amazing staff. We went into business rescue, and you can look at the morale of the staff. It's so high. Our on-time performance, the service, the feedback that I get from the passengers about our service is phenomenal. For an airline that is in business rescue to register over 90% on-time performance, that says a lot about our staff. But what are we doing about excess capacity? We moved from operating 10 aircraft at the same time last year to 7 aircraft. So what that means is that our operating costs has to be cut accordingly. So you're looking about things up like 30% cuts in our operating costs. Mm-hmm. But the low-cost model makes, but in other parts of the world, 20% of our revenue comes from what is called ancillary revenue, selling cokes on board, excess baggage, and charging for cell phone calls and all of those things.
Not on the ticket.
That's the model of the low-cost carrier. You need to get your ancillary revenue,
okay,
right? And that's what we're doing.
I hear what you're saying. We've got a question that's come through from one of our viewers. They want to know, what does the oil price need to be at, given all things equal, for you to make a profit right now?
There are two variables. One is the rand value. The rand has been depreciating, as well as the oil price. If you look at the oil price, for us to be really profitable, you need to have the oil price at below $100 a barrel, and it has not gone there.